This happened a few years back. My mom and I had moved into Detroit after a brutal divorce between my parents. It was the second night sleeping at the new house, and neither of us had any energy to do anything after the move. At that time, I didn't want to speak with her because of the now, quote, broken family. I was young and stupid at the time, what can I say? Anyways, on that night, my mom woke me up at around 3 in the morning. We slept in the same room as most of the things were still packed in boxes. She leaned over to me and asked if I was still awake. I opened my eyes and asked her what she wanted. She didn't say anything for a few seconds, making it all more suspenseful. She then asks me if I heard sounds coming from downstairs, something like footsteps. I told her no, and just as I shut my mouth, we hear drawers being opened and closed in the living room downstairs. Our house was being broken into and in the process of being robbed. We both scrambled out of our beds, sitting up, but not knowing entirely what to do. I looked at my mom, and she looked back at me. We didn't know what to do. We just stared at each other for what felt like forever. We were both frightened and scared for our lives. It was just me and my mom against who knows how many. As we sat there, I listened to the rumblings downstairs. I assumed my mom did the exact same thing because we were both practically motionless. Drawers opened and closed. Doors opened and closed. Boxes were being peeled open. Based off of my judgment and the sound of the footsteps, it sounded like there was only one person downstairs. Maybe we could take them, I thought to myself. But in all honesty, that was probably the worst idea ever. Who knows if they had a weapon, and who knows what they were capable of. I slowly crept over to the closet in the door, where I knew I had kept my BB rifle. I grabbed it as quietly as I could while my mom went to grab the landline, presumably to call the cops. My hands were trembling. I was so scared that the robber would find nothing appealing downstairs and would make his way up to the stairs to find my mom and I in the room. All I could do was look to my mom for comfort, but I knew she was as powerless as I was. I held the gun up and aimed it at the door, ready to fire at anything that comes through it. As I focused on the door, I heard my mom whispering on the phone. She was now talking to one of the operators. At that point, I wish I could have relaxed, but I knew that there was still imminent danger. I listened intently to the footsteps, just now realizing that it was incredibly quiet. I was surprised my mom heard them. I stood there for what felt like eternity. My mom had stopped talking at this point, and the house was dead quiet. I looked over to my mom with a "what's the situation like" face, and she told me that the cops are on their way and that we should barricade ourselves in the room. Again, since we had just moved in, we didn't really have much in the room. And there was really nothing there to block the door, except a bed and a wardrobe. But those things were incredibly difficult to carry, and obviously too loud. We stood there motionless for minutes, as we didn't know what to do. Minutes felt like hours, when suddenly, the robber begins creeping up the stairs. What I didn't want to happen was now happening. As the stairs creaked quietly and slowly, we saw headlights beam through our room. My mom looked out and told me that the cops were here. I felt relieved but also immensely anxious. Who would get to us first, the robber or the police? The footsteps coming up the stairs stopped. In fact, there was no sound coming from outside our bedroom door whatsoever. The cops knocked on the front door downstairs, and we heard a loud bang, and the back door opened quickly and shut. I presumed it was the robber jumping down from the stairs and dashing out of the house, after knowing that someone was at the front door. The robber probably thought that it was the residents of the house coming back from work, since we don't own a car and we were dead silent upstairs. The police sirens were also off, presumably so that the cops can catch the robber in the act, which meant that there was no way the robber knew the cops were in the driveway. We slowly opened our bedroom door, confident that the robber had left, and we went downstairs to tell the officers what we think happened. One of the cops stayed with us while another one searched our entire house. The cop that was taking our statement tried his best to calm us down and make us feel safe again in our home, but my mom and I were visibly shaken. After about 20 minutes or so, the other cop comes back to us and tells us that there was no one in our house. It was finally safe again. Unfortunately, since we never got to see how the robber looked like, we couldn't give them a good description for a perpetrator. The creepiest thing was that the next day, I found footprints in our backyard looking into the house. I was pretty sure it was the robber's footprints. The robber was probably there for the longest time, just staring into our house, to leave behind footprints like that. It still creeps me out to this very day.